Welcome to the Diamond Mine with David Fuller, a podcast from the Rough Diamond Academy. Hello, my friends. I have a special guest with me today, Mr. Ed Goyette, and Ed's from Hampstead in New Hampshire, which is on the east coast of the United States, correct? Got that right?
East Coast.
I've got to get my east and west right. I'm on the east coast, you're on the east coast. It all works out well. Different continent, but that's okay. How are you, Ed?
I'm excellent tonight. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Always good to see you.
Same.
So Ed and I are friends. We've been friends for a couple of years, and we've been doing this social distancing thing for a little while. This is not unusual for us to chat via Zoom, so not exactly a brave new world for us in that respect. But there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about today, my friend, about your business. So you run a coffee house in Hampstead called Bean Towne.
Yep.
And I'm curious about how all this COVID situation has affected your business and what you're doing about it.
Oh, it'll be a shorter conversation if I said how it didn't affect the business.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bean Towne Coffee House. I've been in the business for so long. It's been since 1993 that I started the business, and we really haven't seen anything like this since 2008 when everything crashed. And of course, it's a little bit different because the immediacy went like a faucet. It just turned off. And back in early March, when they locked everything down here, the next day we saw a 70% drop in our business.
Wow!
It just went away. And I took a good hard look at our core values, which we live by every day. We've been called a community service organization wrapped in a coffee house. So every time that we come up against something where we have to take a good look at ourselves and say, okay, how do we meet this challenge? We always go back to the core values, and we always go back to helping people. So as we were, just as luck would have it, as we were trying to figure that out in that first week, and that was a horrific week, I had to lay off 5 out of my 9 employees. I told the other ones to apply for unemployment insurance just in case, because we had no idea what was going on. It was brought to our attention that there was a smoothie place down the street that had raised some money and were having customers buy smoothies and that type of thing for people who were in need and for healthcare workers. And it's one of those things where you have the idea and all of a sudden you just see where it's going to go. And within 24 hours, we had the collateral materials done. We had the taglines done. We had everything done. We had an online presence, ordering presence launched within 48 hours. And we started selling what we call Fuel the Front Line. So you can go right online. You can click one button, pay $10, and you're buying a bagged lunch for a healthcare worker.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you there. So traditionally, your coffee house, people would come in, order food, coffee, sit, eat. So initially, when that sort of stopped overnight, you went firstly to takeaway only, didn't you? And so that was your reality in that moment,
right?
And so your business reduced dramatically to about 30% of what it was. Well, you call it takeout there, don't you?
Yeah.
You call it takeaway here.
Yeah,
it's the one half dozen of the other. It's all the same. So you went to that, and then this was about a week after that. This idea.
Yeah. So actually, to back up a little bit, when it really first started, before we were locked down, but when it was still a problem, right, we were very preemptive we took a couple of tables out. So we separated the tables a little bit. I put out a statement saying like how we're going to clean, what we're going to do. We really ramped up our presence with our sanitation and our cleaning, and anybody would move off of a table and they'd be right there doing it. That was top priority. Once they did lock it down and said that we were an essential business and we could do takeout, I really took the steps of, okay, what is the path of a customer? We don't have a big place. It's only 1,500 square feet, but what contact points do the customer does the customer make? And the first thing was the doorknob, the door handle. So we put a table outside with some wax paper on it and a sign that said, take a piece of wax paper and you're going to open the door with the wax paper. Then here's a trash barrel, you're going to deposit it in. So it's methodical thinking. It's like step by step by step. And we walked that path and we took all of our tables that are supposed to be connecting people and used them to keep people apart.
Right. Okay. Stage one.
Which is a little sad.
Yeah. Well, it must be difficult. You've been in the business how long?
27 years.
27 years. So it's a radical change in
it's crazy.
Business. And, after 27 years of doing something habitually to suddenly be faced with this. And that's one of the reasons I want to speak to you, because you're certainly not alone in the fact that you've suddenly massive change in the business, but we all have to deal with it our own way, and all our situations are unique. But I thought hearing your story might trigger some ideas in some people. You heard it from a juice, was it a juice place down the road, or?
Yeah, just a smoothie place.
A smoothie place, that's right, down the road. And that triggered an idea, and this is why I like to do these things, so that what you've done may trigger ideas in other people, and so on and so on.
Right.
Because things have changed, and I don't think they're going to go back.
They're not. They're not.
So if you're not already thinking of pivoting your business, you should be, because things will change in some form or fashion if they haven't already.
Oh, regardless of what business you're in.
Exactly. So you came up with this idea, fuel the front line. So essentially what happens is you've put this then out in social media, or okay, saying, hey, you can buy a lunch for frontline workers. At that point in time, at least, I know it was mainly frontline medical.
It still pretty much is. We're going into the supermarket and grocery workers now, but it's still 99% nursing homes and hospitals and the like.
So do they know it's coming? Do you
yeah. So
say, hey, lunch is on us today?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll call ahead and we'll say, and this has been the most rewarding work I think I've ever done, is we'll call and we'll say, hey, the community's pitching in and buying lunch for frontline workers, and we've selected your hospital, your unit, or whatever, your nursing home to be the recipient. Tomorrow, how many people do you have? And I'll back up a little bit. When we first were presented with this idea and we said, okay, I said to my staff, well, if we can sell, 150 of these, if people will donate, 150, for 150, that's $1,500. That'll help us patch some payroll through, and we'll take it week by week. Little did I know, and we're already over 1,200 that people have donated for. So it's nice that we have this stack basically of, usually we have 100 at a time that we're ready to go with. So when we say, well, we're going to feed your staff, they say, geez, we've got 60 people. I'm like, let's go. Here we go. We got 60. And when you show up with 60, 80, 100 bagged lunches to a place, they're overwhelmed with the fact that people donated and people went out of their way to do all these. And just that reaction and that gratitude that I get back, and I feel a little weird about it because I'm just the delivery guy. Like, I didn't buy all these lunches. The people out there all over our county did. And I try to make a very good point of that. They say, thank you. I said, I'm not like, I'll pass your thanks along. I'm just the guy that's bringing it to you right now. But it's, but then what we'll do, and this is a good point for people out there to think about. When you're doing good and when you're doing the right thing in your community, do not be afraid to share it. Because people, and this is one thing that I have proven over and over and over again over 27 years, is that human beings deep down want to help. I've proven that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The whole heroes in waiting thing that we've heard about before is, I've seen that people have this urge to help, but they are never asked, and they're not given the opportunity. when you give people the opportunity to do that, you're actually giving them, like that whole self-actualization thing, you're actually giving them the opportunity to be their best selves by making a $10 donation.
And how are you feeding that back to the community?
Well, on Facebook, there is a bunch of community pages, and I've tempered a little bit with the messaging, because they're the types of pages where they say, hey, there's going to be road work next week, or hey, does anybody know a great restaurant? Or it's just a big community page.
Yep.
So we've got 5 or 6 in our immediate area that I know people from that town have donated, because we have a pretty wide range here at our store. So what I'll do is I'll go onto that page, I'll post pictures of the people that we've delivered the lunches to, and I'll just leave a thank you. And I'll say, I just want to thank the people from the community of Hampstead who donated for this effort. You made excellent, this nursing home and this staff at this unit, a COVID unit, very happy today. If you want to get involved, here's the link. So if you're not involved, which most of them aren't, they'll look and they say, oh, geez, that's a really cool thing. Those posts, those get shared, they spread the message, helps us stay in business, and I am not shy about saying that. Everyone knows that we're all struggling. So yeah, it's a nice thing.
And from a business perspective, financial perspective, what's been the impact on your business? So you dropped down to 30%.
So we're still, if you net it out, we're still down about 40% from normal, but we've been able to bring our payroll down, and we've been able to make some menu changes. We've been able to pull a few levers that we needed to pull to get the costs in line with the income. And some of those have been hard. I'm not going to lie, they haven't been the best levers I'd ever want to pull, like laying off 5 out of my 9 staff. Like, that's hard. But where we are now, without this program, we would have just closed our doors. It just wouldn't have been worth it. So it's
not just no small thing there. A massive pivot that's essentially not only fed the frontline workers and built a great community spirit, saved the business.
Mm-hmm. And it works 3 ways. It works for the workers, works for us, and it works for the people donating.
Fantastic. So eventually this will come to an end. Mm-hmm. And there is a life and business beyond the current situation. Who knows when that'll be, but everything comes to an end. What's the big takeaways for you in going forward with this? And how do you see something like this fitting into your business long term? What long-lasting changes has it made to the way you do business?
Well, that's a great question. This actually put a very bright light on what we do well, and it revealed a lot of the expertise that we have as a company. It revealed a lot of the heart, the stuff you already know, but a lot of the heart of my employees who had to make hard decisions and acted in ways which I couldn't be proud of. I could just seriously could not be prouder of them. So it gave me the ability to look and say, wow, look what I really have here. I have all these golden nuggets everywhere in this business. So how do you put them all together and go forward? A very simple one. We didn't have an online ordering platform before. We didn't need it.
Yeah.
And we'd always seen that as something that it's going to be a pain in the butt. You're going to pay an extra 30 cents per order. Why would I do that? Now, that makes a lot of sense to us, because I can see the throughput in our business increasing because people don't have to wait in line. So, okay, the lesson learned. The other thing is we've just proven and actually relearned that people will open up their wallets to support a good cause when asked. So part of our online thing going forward, whether it's healthcare workers or someone who get into a car accident and lost their house or whatever it is, we're always going to have that option on our website to donate to a fund that we can use to help the community. Now, that's something I've talked about since 2007, 2008. And here we are now in 2020, and it took a pandemic for me to actually do it.
It's really interesting because what in the traditional coffee house setting, you've got two parties: the person receiving the meal or coffee and paying for it, and you as the business providing the service. Now you've got three parties: someone who's paying for the service, you as the coffee house, and someone who's receiving it. So you've broadened,
Right,
which
right.
potentially going forward, the way I look at it, I think, well, not only have you've done a great community service, you've broadened your reach in terms of the business going forward, because you have people don't forget, right? So you have potential customers who may not have even known you existed before.
Oh, there's a lot.
Now they may not even be geographically close to you and be able to come and dine with you down the track, but they may be able to do exactly what your locals have done and provide a meal for someone else down the track. So even though in a sense you've got a shrinking market and a difficult situation going forward, you've potentially opened up a whole new market that could be.
Oh, absolutely. And just the fact that we've expanded not only in that way, but we've expanded the market and people coming through the store as well. Like a lot of people who've never heard of us before are driving by, and we put a little flag out like, hey, we got sandwiches here.
Yeah.
And we're actually getting a lot of new faces come through, and people just calling places to see if they're open. There's a lot of places that are closed here, and we're the highest quality place around that is still open. And we've seen a lot of new faces. So I'm cautiously optimistic that when this thing does end, that what we're going to lose in the actual coffee house, what we do well, and we provide a nice place for people to sit and talk and have a good time, we're probably going to lose half our tables, to be honest. We're going to gain in that throughput, and there's a chance that we actually do better coming out of this.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I hope so. This is what I'm about, is in going through some of this stuff and hopefully helping people, create a platform to go forward in better shape than they went in. There might be a sort of a downturn in the middle of it all, but you've got to come out, and you've come out hopefully with a platform to grow your business. So I really appreciate you sharing your experience in this, because it shows that, necessity is the mother of invention. That's an old chestnut, but it's just the simple truth, isn't it? You do stuff when you have to. I'm seeing examples of that everywhere. We're seeing, governments put together packages in a week that they'd normally debate for 2 years in Parliament.
Exactly.
That sort of stuff. So we know that things, when you have to, things can get done. So perhaps the mindset going forward is in business that we continue to look at our businesses and say, all right, if we were in the middle of a pandemic right now and this happened, how would we deal with that? Maybe there's these little games we can take forward with ourselves.
Well, Seth Godin, I don't know if you're a fan of Seth, but Seth Godin had a really interesting thing that he said a long time ago that always stuck with me. He said, if you're in business, imagine that you work on donations only. So what if your business was donation only?
Yep.
How would you do things differently if you had to provide goods and services that were so good that people, if they could pay nothing, they could, that they would pull money out of their pocket and throw it on your counter or whatever business you have, enough to make your business model work. And that's always stuck with me. And it's a great way to look at it.
It is. There are examples of, I know even locally here, of restaurants that have worked on that model of pay what you think it's worth.
Yep. Pay what you want.
Pay what you want. And they seem to do okay by all accounts. Because I think you made a point early on that I think is so true, and it's worth revisiting, that human beings at their core want to do the right thing. The vast majority of people want to do the right thing, and they want to help. If they know that a business is doing the right thing, then they'll want to get behind and support that business and do their bit. And that includes paying for a meal that they otherwise could walk out and not pay for.
Oh,
but
exactly.
it wouldn't feel right. They've got to look at themselves in the mirror, don't they? So, and
Right.
most people would say, I'll tell you what, I could pay 10, but I'll pay 20 because I like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this applies to so many businesses. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it's an extension of themselves.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because through their actions, they're saying, well, when they look themselves in the mirror, they go, okay, I did the right thing and I feel good about that. And people feel good when they do the right thing. And there's not enough things to make us feel good in the world. And when you take that responsibility upon yourself and go, okay, I'm going to align myself, like you just said, I'm going to align myself with this business because they're doing the right thing, therefore I'm doing the right thing, and that's great. And as business people, I mean, personally, the way that I've always run it is that's my responsibility. That's simply my responsibility. If I'm going to put my flag in the ground and say, I am going to put a business into this world, and I would like you to take money out of your wallet and put it on my counter so I can take it and do whatever I want to do with it and run this thing. That is a big part of the responsibility of running the business, is doing the right thing. And the one thing, and I preach this all the time, is the thing that frustrates me when I hear, especially in the retail arena, and I'm sure you get this there too, is as a coffee house, we are inundated with requests for donations. Inundated. And that is, I'm part of some forums, different cafe forums and whatnot, and that is actually, believe it or not, a complaint of owners who say, geez, all these people want all these donations and I get 3 a week and I can't believe it, and what do I do, and how do you temper this, and and I say yes to every single one. And not only do I say yes to every single one within our purview, so we do food insecurity, housing, people who just had a curveball thrown at them. We don't do the thing where I'm trying to buy a dress for my daughter who's going to a beauty pageant. Like, we don't do that. But anything with this dire human need, we are there. And the more local, the better. I say yes to every single one because these are the people who are passionate about things in your community. These are the heroes of your community who are going way out of their way, who could be doing anything else with their time, but they're coming into your store and having an awkward conversation because they believe deeply in something that's amazing.
Yeah.
And to see that as a problem is missing one of the biggest opportunities that we have as retailers, is that my next question is, like, if they ask me for a $25 gift card, sure. You can write that off to a marketing expense all day long and it's fine. Okay? They come in, the next question, I'm like, well, yes, of course I'm going to do this for you, but how do we make your event better? How can I use Bean Towne to bring your thing to the next level? And what they do with that, they always stop and go, geez, I haven't thought of that. Well, that's what we're going to do. Do you want to run an auction here? Do you want me to run a raffle for you? What can we do? Because the more successful they are in helping the community, the more successful I'm going to be, because just goodwill is going to rise. And if these kids get to go to, the baseball park in California, and my store is a big part of it, that's 50, 100 people who are going to have a great feeling about my store. Now, if you do it once and you say, well, that didn't work because I didn't have them come in, you're missing the point. You have to be consistent with it.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So going forward, you now have an online booking system, and that will continue, I take it. And
absolutely.
You'll be continuing in some form or fashion a way of, fueling the front line as part of your ongoing business. Any other ways you think your business might change or adapt that you'll take forward into a future business?
Simplification.
Yeah.
And that we had a conversation with this about at the store today, is we were talking about the grocery stores and how there's like 9 different ketchups and 48 different pasta sauces. and how it causes people to stand there, and because your mind can only hold what 3 or 4 things at a time before it tips off on the best day. And we had this big conversation, and we realized we need to simplify our menu. It's not big to begin with, but it can be presented in a way where people can get it more quickly without having to scan all over the place. That's one of the biggest things.
Interesting.
You know, is and it's all these really cool things that you don't think about, but you have to, like you said, necessity.
I mean, I've certainly, we were talking before we jumped on here, chatting about it. I think even locally, I'm looking at, I have an interest in obviously music, as you can see behind me, and the arts, and thinking about how that works, and taking traditional models that suddenly don't work because you require audiences,
right.
Oddly enough, and then tipping that on its head going forward. Obviously, we've got a lot of people doing music from their homes and you know, their lounges, all that sort of stuff at the moment. But going forward, you look at that and say, well, okay, we have a situation today where we have to do it this way today, but how can you take that concept and bring it forward into the norm going forward? How do you make that part of your business? And so I like these ideas and tossing around these ideas, because there are a lot of things in life and in business we take for granted on any given day that when you're forced to, you do differently. You go, well, that's interesting. Why didn't I do that all along?
Right.
Why did I jump on a plane to go to, you know, a city 3 hours away, to sit in a meeting for 2 hours, right, to come home, when I could have just jumped on Zoom?
On this.
Right? You know, and talk across the world. Why didn't we always do that as a business? And sure, it's good to get together sometimes, but do we have to do it every meeting? No. And I'm sure a lot of people have been doing this for a while too. But you know, right, these are sorts of examples of, say, well, how do you deal with your business differently? How do you go forward? And I'm sure there's a million examples, mate. But I really appreciate you sharing yours with us, and you know, sharing that wisdom you've had. 27 years in a business is no mean feat, no matter what the business is. So clearly,
I look back
along the way, mate.
It's I look back and I go, geez, 27 years went by pretty quickly.
As it does. Yes, indeed. No, that's feeling 21 years for me. So it's good.
Yeah, you know it.
I remember starting it like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But oddly enough, I'm sure your business even before this wasn't the same as it was 27 years ago. And that's the point of all this. There is only one constant, and that is change. So it's a question of how you adapt to it and how quickly you accept that, I think, that determines whether or not you survive the next year or 2 years or 27 years in the business.
It's in the acceptance that that's like, play that one on repeat, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's business is problem solving and change.
Absolutely. And accepting that.
Yeah.
Brilliant, my friend. Thank you very much. We will talk soon.
Fun.
Yeah, it's always good to chat with you.
That's great.
Across the world.
Exactly.
It's a mere 10,000 miles. Nothing.
It's a mere.
And I look forward to one day getting to a Hampstead and sitting in Bean Towne, mate, and having a coffee with you.
That I seriously, someday that's going to happen.
It's definitely on my list of things I have to do. That and sit on the kayak on your lake, mate.
I have one for you. So I don't know. I might make it to Australia before you make it up here.
Well,
that's
we'll find a coffee house here to sit in.
Yeah, do that.
All right, my friend. Take care. Thank you very, very much, and we will talk very soon.
Yeah, we will. Thanks, Dave.